Formula One is in the mud. Is Carlos Sainz going to be back in the car? What do they find from the race fixing allegations? Will Adrian Newey finally make that move to Ferrari? Why is Christian Horner in the role for a new role at Red Bull? And what has Susie Wolff done? What are these legal proceedings? So it's been just 2 weeks since Carlos Sainz had his appendix surgery and he is back at the Australian GP. We will have saw him at the weekend in Saudi. He entered the track on Sunday. Obviously was still looking a bit sheepish as it was only, 24 hours after his surgery. He was talking to the media overnight, and here's the first one to admit that if he isn't feeling 100%, he will put his hands up and take himself out of the car. He admits he is not stupid. If I don't feel good come tomorrow, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I need another 2 weeks. Now, Formula 2 is also in action this weekend, so Ollie Behrman is about, so maybe he may get the call up yet again to the Ferrari Formula 1 team. Do I think that's possible? Absolutely. Especially considering the performance he put in Jeddah. If Carlos Sainz isn't able to continue the weekend for whatever reason, then I'm sure that decision will go straight to Ollie Behrman. I can't see them picking and choosing anybody else. Obviously, I'm sure they'd like to put Lewis Hamilton in the car, but I don't think Mercedes will allow that to happen. So, obviously, I'm hoping Carlos Sainz can complete this weekend. He started really well in Bahrain. On the podium. I thought he had an excellent race weekend. So obviously it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly he gets back into a rhythm, if he is feeling okay or if he has to wait another 2 weeks. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner up here to catch all my latest Formula 1 and football videos, and I'll catch you in the next part of the video. Continuing on with the Ferrari theme, and yet again it's talk about Adrian Newey. We heard just a couple of videos ago that Aramco are trying to buy Aston Martin and one of their main targets is Adrian Newey. Well, now we're getting word that Ferrari and Adrian Newey are in very, very advanced discussions over a potential move for Ferrari to bring Adrian Newey to Maranello. Now, obviously, they've recently brought in Lewis Hamilton, the 8-time world champion, for 2025. Charles Leclerc has signed a new long-term deal. And Fred Vasseur is going after a range of different high-profile staff in Formula 1. A range of them are coming from Red Bull if they agree to their deals. Now, it is reported that the two parties, that being Ferrari and Adrian Newey, have got meetings scheduled for in between the races of Japan and China, and they're going to see if they're able to hash out some negotiations, see if they can make a deal work. Now, obviously, with the recent rumours of Adrian Newey being targeted by Aramco, if they're able to buy Aston Martin, this might make Ferrari step up the gas and put in a proper offer. Maybe even a blank checkbook for Adrian Newey, just to say, what do you want? What do you need for you to come to Ferrari? I think that would be an absolutely mega way for Adrian Newey to end his career, going to Ferrari, building them a championship winning car so that they can win their first championship since 2007. And just see what fun he can have with the likes of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Obviously, we look at the absolute monsters he's built over the years for Red Bull. They've always been one of the best cars when it comes to chassis and aero and things like that. And that's obviously mainly down to the likes of Adrian Newey and the team of staff that he builds. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes on. Obviously, with the ongoing Christian Horner saga, Adrian Newey could be looking for a way out, and this would be an absolutely perfect one, not just for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, but also for the other teams on the grid. Continuing on the Red Bull theme, it is being reported that Christian Horner is looking at a potential step up in role of the Red Bull racing team to a CEO role with the actual Red Bull group. The Thai organisation, the Thai side of the organisation, are looking at flexing their muscles and giving Christian Horner more power across the entire Red Bull division rather than just the Formula 1 team. This comes after months of allegations, leaks, investigations into Christian Horner's conduct as a leader. And for me, I don't think it's the right decision. I think it's absolutely disgusting if he gets a new role, especially considering that he's yet to be found to have done nothing wrong in these cases. Obviously, with the Thai side and their 51% ownership, if this is to go through, they'll be really flexing their muscles on the 49% of Austria. This could also lead to the likes of Max Verstappen, Helmut Marko and Adrian Newey finding the exit door at Red Bull and leaving swiftly. Now, obviously, we all know the situation. Max Verstappen, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner have made it all very clear. Jos Verstappen has said that Red Bull is going to explode if Christian Horner stays. So putting Christian Horner in a higher position isn't one which is going to look to keep Max Verstappen around the team. And Johnny Herbert made some interesting comments about it just this past week, talking about how is it worth keeping Christian Horner and losing a generational talent like Max Verstappen. That is a decision which the Thai side of Red Bull are looking to be making, and moving Christian Horner into a more powerful position in the organisation definitely shows that they aren't scared of losing Newey, Max Verstappen or Helmut Marko. We all heard about the recent race fixing allegations into the FIA president and vice president. Now, we both know the FIA have investigated the FIA here, so take everything with a pinch of salt. The FIA Ethics Committee has found absolutely no evidence to suggest that the FIA president has interfered in a Formula 1 race result or intervened with the Las Vegas track being okayed for the race to go ahead. Now, let's just put it this way. The FIA have investigated the FIA here. The FIA has investigated the FIA president. How often do you think the FIA are going to find their own president guilty? They're not. You go to the past, you look at Abu Dhabi 2021. The FIA failed to rectify the race result of Abu Dhabi 2021, despite the FIA's mishaps. The FIA admitted mistakes in that race, and even then still failed to do what was necessary. So, do I think that he interfered with the race? Probably. Do I feel he interfered with Las Vegas being okayed? Yeah, probably. Do I think it'll ever come out? No, probably not. Do I think Mohammed Ben Sulayem is the right person for the job? No. And after recent comments from Lewis Hamilton overnight too in the media, I think a few drivers feel the same way too. It's a very difficult situation for Formula 1 and the FIA right now. The Concord Agreement is up at the end of 2025. So that puts the FIA in a bit of a sticky situation where the teams can walk away from Formula 1 and start their own championship. You'd obviously lose essentially the records, but realistically the teams could just carry them over. It wouldn't really make a great deal of difference, in my opinion, if that is what the teams choose to do. But yeah, the FIA Ethics Committee has found no evidence that the FIA president has done anything wrong. Are we surprised? No. As I just mentioned, overnight, Lewis Hamilton was asked a question about whether he had confidence in Mohammed Ben Sulayem's ability to fulfill the role as FIA president, and Lewis Hamilton responded by saying he never has. And I think that speaks volumes on the job that Mohammed Ben Sulayem is doing and what he's done since he has taken over the role. Now, obviously, his first job was to oversee the Abu Dhabi 21 report, and we all know how that went. It didn't go very well. The FIA failed to rectify their mistakes, failed to rectify the problem. Now, in my opinion, do I believe Abu Dhabi was an FIA mistake? No. I personally believe it came from a higher power, told Michael Massey what to do. And yes, that can happen at races. You might go, oh, he had a split second to make a decision. No, he didn't. There was under safety car for a long period of time. He had plenty of time to decide whether lapped cars could go through, whether the safety car needed to do its extra lap, which it didn't. And that is something which personally I do not think was a Michael Massey decision. I believe he was a fall guy. And Mohammed Ben Sulayem, instead of rectifying the issue and putting his drivers at the forefront, putting a record-breaking world championship at the forefront, he decided to just let it ride. He and Christian Horner both thought, we'll just sweep it under the carpet, everybody forget about it. But as you can tell, we're here in 2024. It's still a very prevalent topic, and it gets brought up all the time. It's always brought up in discussions. It's brought up in the media, and that is a big problem. He started off on the wrong foot. He's never quite found his way again. He's made a range of comments which arguably could be deemed as sexist. You've got the FIA's investigation into Toto and Susie, which I'll get onto in a minute, which was purely a bogus claim which they reported on. But They are yet to investigate Christian Horner despite receiving 2 reports. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes down, because it's starting to feel like Formula One and the drivers are starting to lose any sort of confidence they had in him, which in my opinion, I don't think was ever a lot. And finally, Susie Wolff. Now, I mentioned it in the last segment. She and Toto Wolff were put under investigation by the FIA after a bogus article was released claiming that team principals had been claiming to the media that Toto was sharing information which none of the team principal had. They were linking it to conflicts of interest between Toto and Susie. Now, if you don't know, Susie, I believe she's the managing director of Formula One Academy, and she's involved in building up the reputation of Formula One Academy, making sure that all the drivers have a Formula One team, like trying to back them, or a big sponsor trying to back them to give Formula One Academy a big uplift of popularity. And Susie Wolff and Toto Wolff both didn't take this investigation very well, let's say. And I completely understand why. There was no grounds for the investigation, yet the FIA put out a statement saying that they were investigating, causing reputational damage to both Susie, Toto, Mercedes, F1 Academy, and it was just a bogus situation, which was just to sort of beat on Toto and Susie and Mercedes as a team. And Susie Wolff has now committed and filed a criminal complaint in the French courts against the FIA in relation to the comments and statements made by the FIA back in December. Her statement reads as followed. I'll put it on the screen so that you can see it. I can confirm that I personally filed a criminal complaint in the French courts on the 4th of March in relation to the statements made about me by the FIA last December. There has still not been any transparency or accountability in relation to the conduct of the FIA and its personnel within this matter. I feel more than ever it is important to stand up, call out improper behaviour and make sure people are held to account. While some may think silence absolves them from responsibility, it does not. And I think it's a very brief and very straight to the point and very impactful statement. We've seen over the past few weeks the lack of accountability and transparency in the Christian Horner investigation. Again, we've just seen with Mohammed bin Salem and the investigation into race fixing and interfering in the Las Vegas GP, and whether that should have gone ahead or shouldn't. And again, lack of transparency, lack of accountability from the FIA. You go back to Abu Dhabi 21, which I mentioned previously. The FIA didn't really take responsibility. They pushed everything onto Michael Massey, and Massey was the fall guy. And there was no full transparency. There was no accountability. Now, everyone always argues Abu Dhabi 21, but this rule does this, this rule does this. But if that was the case, the FIA would have put that in the statement, in the report, and it never would have been a thing. It would have been shut down straight away. But it wasn't. And it's things like this where they lack transparency, they lack accountability for their own actions, which leads to situations like this where Susie Wolff is now taking them to a criminal court. And that is massively important in my opinion, because in that sense, they no longer can lack transparency, they no longer can lack accountability, because it's all going to be put in the forefront, which will then, as you know, with it being the FIA and Formula One, it's going to be it will be massively publicised, and everything will come out. So let's just see what happens with that. If you have got to this part of the video, make sure you put a Formula One car down in the description, in the comments, on the emojis, and let me know your thoughts about all this latest news and drama within Formula One. I'd love to talk about on-track action, but obviously it hasn't happened yet, and there just seems to be more and more off-track drama going on than there is on-track at the moment. So make sure you subscribe to stay tuned to all my on-track talk, and we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the season. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula One and football weekend.